Hello, my people. You're welcome back to my channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I greet you all according to your time and location. As we all know that, given the widespread of hunger in the country, some group of persons decide to organize a protest, which they tag as #End Bad Governance in Nigeria. So they called on Nigerians to come out to protest, and ever since, Nigerians have poured into the street in the major cities across the nation to protest against this hardship. And today is the eighth day. The protest started since on the 1st of August. And ever since it started, right from day one, there have been issues of casualties, violence in so many cities, and even deaths. So now the NLC have decided to make their own demands. And in this video, we'll be discussing about the NLC demand. The Nigerian Labour Congress demands Tinubu government reverse ill-convinced policies and also to declare Nation Day of mourning for #End Bad Governance protest victims. So let's see the news in details. The Nigerian Labour Congress has urged President Bola Tinubu's administration to investigate the deaths of dozens of protesters at the hand of the security forces during the ongoing End Bad Governance protest. In a statement released after its National Executive Council meeting on Wednesday, the NLC condemned the government attempt to surpass the citizens' right to demonstrate against economic hardship caused by the failed policies and demanded accountability for the killings. The union reinstated its support for the ongoing protests, tagged as #End Bad Governance in Nigeria, urging President Tinubu to immediately reverse his anti-people policies to stop the revolt. The statement added that the government must also immediately approve subsidies on basic commodities to ameliorate the sufferings of Nigerians. The statement reads, the NEC in section noted that government cannot hope to stop democratic protests by threatening the people who are already losing their lives by the unrepented massacres of unarmed protesters by the police, but by concrete actions and reasonable dialogue. It reminded the federal government that NLC has warned it before now of the consequence of yielding to the anti-poor advice of the World Bank and IMF when it announced the subsidy is gone statement in May 2023. It further stated that the NLC had alerted the government of the ensuing hardship and the general unworkability of the projection without putting adequate safeguards in place to mitigate the suffering that their policies were bound to heap on the populace, but was rebuffed by the government's huge propaganda. The NEC noted that the NLC saw the massive poverty, saw the ensuing hunger, saw the damage in ignoring the people. They saw the reaction of the people and also saw the organic mobilizing power of hunger and wanton deprivation. But unfortunately, the federal government never agreed with NLC. But they chose the routes of insult and names, calling alluding to some phantom political motives and non-exist primordial consideration. It further noted that, sadly at this stage, it has also unfortunately seen the same posturing of names, calling and alluding to some invisible political intents in the whole protest. We want to quickly inform the president that this will not work. Even if it worked today, it will not work tomorrow. People are hungry and their lives are no longer secured in the nation. Hope that used to be the last bastion for Nigerians, which has made them resilient in the face of difficulties, have been dashed and taken away with great impunity by the government that promised hope. The NLC said its NEC made some observation, noting that the National Executive Council is deeply troubled by the government's high-handed and mismanaged response to the peaceful #End Bad Governance protest, instead of addressing the legality and the fundamental grievances of the people. The government has resorted to violence, resulting in the killing and maiming of several civilians by the police in many parts of the country. This defies reasons, especially what the people are demanding is that the government take steps to lighten their burdens, which was an affliction brought upon them by the policies of the federal government. They also address the issue of trivialization of treasonable felony by government operatives. Its constant use in every situation abuses and make a mockery of it as a high crime against the state. They also stated that it was surprised at the vociferous outpouring of venom by the military chief against the protesters wielding flags in expression of hunger and wished that the same dexterity with which they made their pronouncement was also deployed in combating the insurgents and terrorists that have various parts of our nation captive wielding weapons. The NEC condemned in the strongest terms the human rights violation perpetrated by the security forces against the peaceful protesters. The right to protest is a fundamental democratic right, and its suppression through violence is unacceptable. They also noted the unprofessional and unethical conduct of the Minister of Labour. My people, now they see all this their demand is a very long one, na very long list o. We are still reading, more things are still there to address. They also address the government meddlomeness. The NEC in section mandates the national leadership to decide on the day NLC will set aside as a national day of mourning in honor of those who were maimed and lost their life in the ongoing #End Bad Governance nationwide protests. The NEC called for an independent investigation into the killings and the maiming of protesters. Those responsible for this hideous act must be held accountable and justice must be served to the victims and their families. They urges the government to engage in meaningful dialogue with the representative of the protesters, social civil organizations and other stakeholders. This is to avoid the NLC being compelled direct its members to stay home for the safety of their lives. Talking about immediate relief measures, the government must implement immediate relief measures to alleviate the suffering of workers and general populace. These include the provision of direct food aids, subsidize an essential commodity, and other social safety nets in a way that it will reach the people and not hijacked by politicians. So my people, this NLC demand na very long list, but that is all we can take for the demands. Please don't forget to drop your thoughts with us in the comment section. Let's know what you think about all this demand.